What am I doing with my life? Oh my gosh. Average Picker here. This is going to be my stupidest video yet. In fact, I think it needs a mocha. I'm going to make a mocha. So inside and outside the lockpicking community, it undoubtedly comes up, or let's say the lock sport community, it undoubtedly comes up about picking in real world conditions, under stressful conditions, under less than ideal conditions. You know, that it is somehow it's cheating by picking on a vise in the comfort of your home. You know, you can angle everything to just right, and that picking out in the real world is different. And I completely agree. And I had a sort of perfect storm of convergence of ideas the other day while talking to some people. Oh God. Now there's this thing that's been going around the internet somewhat. You've probably maybe heard of it, maybe you haven't. Storm Area 51. They can't kill us all. And this was a joke. It was obviously a joke. I mean, the original video even talks about dodging bullets and things like that. Obviously a joke. But somebody brought up storming Area 51, they're obviously going to need lock pickers. And they're right. They're going to need lock pickers. Because if you're going to storm Area 51 and free the aliens, or whatever you're planning to do there, there's going to be buildings. And those buildings are going to have government locks on them. Say Sargent and Greenleaf locks. I like logistics. I think logistics is fun, especially for really absurd things. But just trying to look at like what you're trying to tackle. And this is where lockpicking converges with just stupidity. Let's look at some numbers. Okay, we're going to put some numbers to this, and no matter how many times I reshoot this video, I just keep laughing because it's ridiculous. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, Area 51 is where they keep all the aliens and UFOs and stuff, and it's part of the Nevada test and training range. And this sits on a 2.9 million acre piece of land out in a desert. Out in a desert. Let's remember it's a desert. To put that in some perspective, that's 4,500 square miles, or for Euro people, it is about 11,700 square kilometers. I mean, it's huge. There is a fly area where they could actually use it for practice fighting with planes. It's about 150 miles long and 110 miles wide. And they just recently also expanded by over 300,000 more acres. The place is huge. Now, luckily, Area 51, there is a gate. And the gate, you can get pretty much right up to the gate. It's only, and then from the gate, it's only about 15 miles to the base. More or less. The closest gas station is about 50 to 90 miles away. And then you've got 15 more miles to go. Have you ever been the 10th car at a red light? So they've got 1.5 million people signed up. Obviously they're not all going to go and do this, and obviously they're not going to do this, but it's fun to think about. So 1.5 million people, if we put 4 people to a car, that's going to take 375,000 cars. If we do the more American style of 2 people to a car, it's 750,000 cars. The car companies don't even make this many cars every year. And again, this is a desert with a 2-lane road, and it's desert off-road. You know, I just think of these 1989 Ford, you know, your Ford Taurus and your Volvo that you flip the odometer on. You know, it's some UFO flat earthers van. It's gonna have to be on the road. But okay, let's look at some other stuff. So, besides landmines and seismic sensors and motion sensors and rockets and planes and helicopters with bombs and missiles and more rockets and more missiles and more guns, they have Humvees, armored Humvees as well. I'm sure they have tanks out there too, but we're just going to look at the Humvee. So the armored Humvees tend to use this CROWS system, which is sort of this armored turret thing. It can be fired from the inside where you're safe. And you can mount a whole lot of stuff to this CROWS system. Two of the more popular low-powered machine guns that they mount is the M249. It can hold 1,600 rounds and fire 850 rounds per minute. And then there's the M240. Yeah, it can hold 1,000 rounds, fire somewhere between 650 and 950 rounds per minute. It has an effective range of 800 meters. Okay, so if we get in and do some averages here, what if you have to run the whole 15 miles, and you're in this crowd of people, let's say 1 million of them manage to get into cars. So you're in a crowd of about 500,000 people, with a few 100,000 cars in front of you. You're going to have to run 15 miles. You can hopefully average, that's the average that most people can run in 18 to 34 years old. It's about 8.5 miles an hour. So you're going to be running for 1.8 hours. Remember, it's a desert. It's like 97 degrees today. When I filmed this video, it was 97 degrees. 36 degrees Celsius. If you're driving, you're in luck. 40 miles an hour is what I figured you could average. I think I was pretty generous. I'm figuring you're going to be driving on flat tires. I mean, yeah, I don't know how you're not going to have a flat tire in that whole mess of several 100,000 cars all being shot at. Hey, just about 40 minutes, just shy of 40 minutes. That's all you've got to do. You've just got to maintain 40 miles an hour in a car that's probably run over people and been shot up and probably has 4 flat tires, but you only have to do it for 40 minutes. So those Humvee machine guns, they can be reloaded pretty quickly. Let's say a bad scenario, about 20 seconds. So if you just had four Humvees with those machine guns on it, 2 could just fire away at you and 2 could reload, and then they could just swap places and keep backing up, starting at like 700 yards. So if you have to run the whole thing for 108 minutes, by the time you get there, just from the equivalent of one of the guns, you will have received about 91,800 rounds. Now remember, you've got 1.5 million people, maybe you're the last guy, so they're all in front of you to absorb them. That's going to be a gross run, a really gross run. And if you drive it, from just, again, we're looking at one of the guns, you're equivalent to one of the guns maxing out. You will have received from just that one gun 32,800 rounds. That's if you could stay moving the whole time. Okay, so what's our picking mission? Well, the worst case of scenario for success for you, right, is that you're going to have to run for 2 hours in 100-degree heat across 15 miles while being shot at in a stampeding crowd that's being killed. Then you're going to arrive at one of 50 buildings, right? Because just from counting on the satellite photographs, you can count pretty easily about 50 buildings. So you're going to get to one of those 50 buildings, and now you're going to have to stop, pull out your everyday carry, and you're going to have to pick a Sergeant in Greenleaf, which if you look online and we go by people that have been practice picking Sergeant in Greenleaf's 4 to 12 minutes, you're going to be picking that lock while being shot at. And At this point, the crowd's probably pretty thin. And then you've got to hope the alien or the UFO is in one of these 50 buildings and you didn't just pick your way into like the janitor supply room. Or that there's no other locks, right? You pick the one and it's probably just going to be, a hangar. And there's going to be some planes in there maybe, or just some plane supplies. You could pick a building that's just full of parachutes and ejection seats. No aliens. No aliens for you. You just went through an awful lot to get there. So obviously this thing was a joke. And I keep laughing because when I sat down and started doing this, looking at the logistics, looking at the numbers of it, and it's incomprehensible. It's that Dr. Strangelove thing, where, with the atomic bomb, the destructive potential is so massive, you almost don't know what to do. You can't wrap your brain around it. And some of us, we just start laughing because it's off the scales. Insanity. And yeah, that's what this was. I was like, God, I wonder what it would be like. Let's put some numbers to this and look at what we're dealing with. 1.5 million people trying to cross 15 miles of desert, running and or in cars. Hundreds of thousands of cars. Millions of people running with what would only really take a couple Humvees backing up. And we're not even thinking about things like, tire spikes or the grenade launchers or the fact they have fucking planes. And like, they're just going to get this bottleneck of destruction in front of everything. And then what do you do when you get there? You don't have a lockpicker with you. You're just building around 50 buildings now. Yeah, honestly, if that many people tried to storm a military facility, if I was that military, I'd just shrug and let them come running up. I mean, just lock the doors. What are they going to do? Send a couple guys out, maybe some tear gas, and if you see somebody really trying to batter a door down or cut through it or pull out their everyday carry, just go arrest that guy. Just let them mill around in that 100-degree heat until they get tired and go home. That's what I would do. But let's face it, it's a little bit funnier in that dark humor sort of way to think about you with your everyday carry trying to run into Area 51 and free an alien. Told you this was going to be a dumb video. You all have a good one.
Miller, what are you doing?
Going for a little spin.
But you don't know how to drive.
Don't go. What about our relationship?
What?
What about our relationship?
Fuck that.
You shit! I'm glad I tortured you. How could you leave me? I'm the one who's supposed to be in that car.
It all took a hold of Yes.